We have a lot of catching up to do. Hi friends, it's Kristi. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the first chat video of 2025 and the first chat video in quite a long time. It was probably early 2024 the last time I did chat video. So we are definitely long overdue for a chat. This video is either going to be a very long video or I'm going to split it into maybe 2 different videos. We'll see how it goes. But I have a lot to talk to you about. I want to kind of share things that have been going on with me as far as just my eating, my exercise, things that I've really been trying to work on. And if I think that I'm going to be able to make those changes work with Weight Watchers, I want to talk to you all about the changes for 2025 that Weight Watchers has made, and then just whatever comes to mind. If you're new here, I want to give a personal welcome and also welcome you to the Planning Us Healthy community. We have a wonderful group of people. You can kind of go through the comments and you'll see that the people on here are absolutely amazing. If you've been following me for some time, I also want to say thank you to those. Again, I did mention it in my last video, but since this is a chat, I want to formally say thank you for sticking by while I've been away from filming for the last few months. We've just had a really rough year at work, lots going on. We're not quite done with our project though. We still have some work to do this year on it. But I've figured out a way that I can kind of incorporate some videos and find time for filming. And I think I've come to an agreement with myself on the way that I'm eating and what I'm going to be sharing. So I want to talk about that in this video as well. So I want to start out this video with saying the things that I'm going to be sharing are just for me. Please consult your doctor. Don't follow anybody's particular way of eating. As you're going to see when I talk about in this video, we're all different. So I'm just sharing what's working for me. So please don't look at everything that I'm saying and think that that's something you have to do. You have to find what works for you. So just make sure to get with your doctor or your nutritionist or whoever it is and do what's right for your body. So in 2024, in addition to work being real busy, I ended up really kind of putting myself on the back burner. I felt like I was getting to a point where I was putting everybody else before myself, and that means everybody, as far as my husband, my children, my grandchildren, all of you. I was feeling, as far as filming, I was starting to feel a little bit like it wasn't aligning with the way that my heart was really pushing me towards eating. And I was struggling to get Weight Watchers to work with the way that I really wanted to eat. So I'd say, I want to say maybe like around September-ish, I really started looking at the way that I was eating, and I was really wanting to focus more on a whole foods diet. I was tired of the yo-yoing from Weight Watchers. I had put weight back on, and it just seemed like it was constantly an up and down battle. My whole life, honestly. I've mentioned before, I've been pretty much doing Weight Watchers for years, almost all of my adult life. I'm a Gen Xer. I got pulled into the diet culture society, and my whole life was taught, low fat. You got to do low fat, low calories, 1,200 calorie a day diets. Make sure you're hardly eating any fat. And in doing that years ago, I ended up losing my gallbladder because back in the day on Weight Watchers, you would never see me count points for olive oil or count points for any healthy fat for that matter. I had it grilled in my head that fats were bad. You shouldn't eat that. Saturated fat, don't eat beef, don't eat red meat. Like, it was grilled into my head. So probably the last quarter of 2024, I decided that I wanted to make some true changes. So my channel, has always been about health. I try not to focus on the scale. To me, the scale is just a guide. You shouldn't really, base everything on that. And so I kind of stopped paying attention to the scale, and I was eating I stopped tracking because I was so busy at work. I just kind of felt like I needed to just kind of do my own thing. And when I went for my blood work, my pre-diabetes marker, my A1C, was up higher. So I talked to my doctor, and my doctor talked to me about incorporating more animal-based foods into my diet, which I pretty much have always done. I have never really been the vegetarian type. when I was young, I grew up in the outskirts of Rochester, New York, and country. You know, we had farmers in our family, and so I always grew up eating, you know, more whole foods. It wasn't until probably my mid-teens that I changed all that, because I got sucked into the diet culture and kind of changed everything at that time when my body was adjusting, and just started eating different things. I stopped eating all the red meat, stopped eating all the fat. So I really wanted to make a change, and I wanted to get back to more natural foods. And so my doctor suggested that, based on my prediabetes and my mother being diagnosed with diabetes, that maybe I want to look more into a full animal-based, really a modified animal-based diet, and really cut back on the amount of refined carbs that I was eating. And so I did a lot of research. I literally would spend like my lunch breaks just going through, following different people, doing some research, reading books, doing everything I could to learn about all these different ways of eating. So that kind of got me looking into the animal-based way of eating. And so basically what I was doing is just kind of like animal-based whole foods diet. So I'm eating a lot of eggs. Now, eggs used to be, that was another thing back in the day. It was said, oh, you can't have more, I think it was more than like 3 eggs a week. That was all we were supposed to. Now I'm eating 3 eggs a day. And I think I did read some study that they just came out with. Now eggs are considered healthy. They're no longer considered high cholesterol as far as your blood cholesterol, because I guess food cholesterol, from what I read, something about food cholesterol, the cholesterol in food is different than the cholesterol in your blood. So I think that's how it is. So eggs are something I'm eating. I'm adding in a lot more beef to my diet. I'm still having some vegetables. I'm not loading up as much. So for those of you who are new, I do have a disease called ulcerative colitis. It's the sister to Crohn's disease. It's an inflammatory bowel disease. I've had it for about 20 years now, probably a couple more than that. And I go into different phases where sometimes I'll be in remission, sometimes I am in a bad flare. I would say for me personally, it's more a mild compared to a lot of people. I seem to be able to kind of get my symptoms to go away through diet and exercise. But for the most part, I can't really eat raw fruits and vegetables. And then when I'm flaring, I have to go on a low fiber diet. And so just different things like that. So I'm trying to also work with that at the same time of this way of eating that I'm trying. And I have definitely cut back on refined carbs. I'm no longer really eating any refined carbs. I will have, if I have bread on occasion, it will be a piece of sourdough toast or something. I will have potato once in a while. If I do, I'll have just a small amount, like a 3-ounce potato. But for the most part, I'm eating just a lot of meats. I'm eating good, healthy fats. And for fruits, I've really limited down to kind of berries. Like I'll have blueberries, blackberries, strawberries. I'll have a kiwi once in a while. So I'm really kind of just having berries. I'll eat avocados for healthy fats. For my regular fats, I'm eating grass-fed butter, ghee, which is clarified butter, olive oil, and avocado oil. Those are pretty much the only oils that I've been having lately. And that is one thing that was always hard with Weight Watchers, is because butter is high in points on Weight Watchers. For the grass-fed butter that I get from Aldi, it's 6 points for 1 tablespoon. That is, when I was doing it before the old me, there's no way I would have counted 6 points for a tablespoon of butter. I have found that I usually only end up using about a half a tablespoon whenever I have it. So it's 3 points for the half a tablespoon. But I've found that with the Weight Watcher changes, it seems to be working. So basically, I am cutting out mostly ultra processed foods. So things in a box or a can, although I will have, like green beans that are in a can, things like that. But for the most part, ultra processed foods, I'm no longer having. I'm not having any refined sugar. I'll have natural sugar, some. I'm not like having a whole lot of that. And then refined grains, I'm trying to stay away from those. I have definitely found that grains are a trigger for my ulcerative colitis. I will occasionally have sourdough bread. That doesn't seem to trigger as bad. For the most part, I'm really not eating many grains. And let me tell you, I am only 2 weeks in. I started eating this way a couple days before January 1st. I After the holidays, I was so sugared up. I felt like I was addicted to sugar. I felt like I couldn't stop. I just kept wanting more. During Christmas, I'm the one who makes the fudge and the cookies and, all that. And I just, the Christmas crack, fudge and cookies I make. And of course I was eating those and I just felt awful. I felt like I was addicted. I felt like an addict. Like I just had to keep going back for more. So I was like, this is enough. I have to make some changes. And so I decided to just make the change. I didn't wait for January 1st. I think it was the Saturday before January 1st or the Sunday before January 1st, I believe, somewhere around there, that I actually started. So it was like the 28th or 29th of December. So I had 2 weigh-ins since then, and the first week I lost 5.9 pounds, and the second week I lost 1.8 pounds. It has been, I don't even know how long since I've been able to lose anything like that. Now, granted, the first week is a lot of water weight, especially because the week before that I had gained 3.8 because of what I was eating over the holidays. So I gained 3.8, and then when I did my official, okay, this is it, my week 1 was 5.9. So I had actually lost what I had gained plus lost a few more, and then 1.8 this last weigh-in. And I also have gained 2 pounds of muscle. So that's excellent. I have a scale that shows like all the different things, your water, the protein in your body, your muscle mass, your bone mass. I did gain 0.2 in bone mass. That's pretty big because I'm 53 years old. So you start losing your bone mass also. So bone mass and muscle mass, for me to increase those are my focus. And I'm not going to be worried really so much about the pounds that I weigh, but what is the bone mass doing? What is the muscle mass doing? Is that increasing? And that's pretty much going to be my focus. So I said I wasn't going to do like a weekly weigh-in each week because the scale just doesn't tell everything. But I did want to mention that, and mention that in the first 2 weeks, I feel amazing. I have so much energy, and I don't know if it's just from not eating the ultra processed foods. I don't know if it's just because it's a new year. I don't know if it's just because I'm getting back to filming again and talking with you all. The comments you all gave me, the welcome that you gave me, it really, it just made me feel amazing. But I have just internally been feeling really well. One of the books that I've been reading, and this is what I decided to do. At work, we decided to do kind of a sugar fast, and I found this book called The 40-Day Sugar Fast. This is, it's by Wendy Speak, and it's where physical detox meets spiritual transformation. And so this has really been an eye-opener for me. It's like you read one section each day. So this has really been helping both physically and spiritually. So that's pretty much what I'm doing for 40 days. I'm not having any sugar. And by sugar, I mean, I'm not having no artificial sweeteners. Like I was always having Splenda before. I'm not having any artificial sweeteners. I've not drank a Diet Coke in 2 weeks now, or Diet Dr. Pepper. Diet Dr. Pepper and Diet Coke were my favorites. So I haven't drank those in 2 weeks. And the other things is just anything that has sugar in it. If it's a natural sugar, then I'm not giving that up. So in other words, I'm still going to eat some fruits. I'm still going to have some things that has, it might have a little bit of sugar in it, but there's no added sugar. So as long as there's no added sugar, I'm not too concerned. So in other words, like sometimes I'll put a little bit of milk in my coffee. Of course, milk has sugar in it, but there's no added sugar in it. So basically sugars from fruit, and then honey and organic maple syrup. That's pretty much the only sugars that I have. So I'm going to do this, and then I may start just adding a few things back in. I don't know. I'll see how I feel after the 40 days. I'm not doing this forever. I'm going to see how I feel. And then it may come a time where I decide, hey, I'm feeling like I'm falling back. And then I'm going to get this book out and I'm going to do it for another 40 days. I really feel like that will help me. So I start my day with that. And of course, my devotional. I have this devotional, Streams in the Desert. Our pastor told us about that, and I love this book. But let me show you the book that made the biggest impact to me. If you follow me on social media, you have seen this book. This is a book by Dr. Casey Means with Callie Means, who's her brother. And this is called Good Energy, Feel Incredible, Avoid Disease, and Age Well. This book opened my eyes so much. It talked about the, like kind of like metabolic therapy. She was actually a doctor, and I think she was a surgeon too. I think she went to medical school. Like she was this, just had umpteen million credentials. She was a doctor, and she felt like, wait a minute, we're not getting to the root cause of everything. We're just giving pills and sending people on their way. There's a root cause to it. And so it's just a really good book. It opened my eyes to so many different things. So I highly recommend that book. I'll put this book down in the description box below along with the other books, but so good. So now let's talk about the Weight Watchers changes and the new program. Everybody, points didn't change or anything like that, but 0 Point Foods did. It's now 0 points for a lot more lean meats. That was the problem I was having before because I was now adding beef back into my diet, a lot of different things. I was also I really didn't care for the 99% lean ground turkey and ground chicken, but in order to make it work, I would buy those. So the lean meats, that's huge. The pork tenderloin, I have recipes out there with pork tenderloin I eat. That's now 0 points. Lean beef, I love the fact that it's 90%. So I didn't care again for the 96% extra lean. I like the meat with more fat in it. So usually I do 93%. Aldi has some grass-fed 93% ground beef that I absolutely love that. So that's usually what I have. But if I can find the 90%, I will have the 90%, even over the 93. And then I love the fact that chicken, now it's not just chicken breast or turkey breast. We can now have chicken thighs as long as they're skinless. We can have chicken thighs and regular ground turkey, ground chicken. So I am loving those changes that are made. Oats are now 0, but I'm no longer really eating oats anymore. I used to eat oats all the time. I would have overnight oats for breakfast. But I'm really having more of a brunch lately. I really haven't been having breakfast. I might have maybe a cottage cheese and a few berries in the morning, but my breakfast usually has been around 11 o'clock. I've just really been listening to my body. If I'm hungry in the morning, I'll eat, but I'm usually not real hungry until probably around 11. And at that point, I just make a really big breakfast. I have a brunch. Even during the week when I have to work, I'll get up in the morning and make my big brunch, and then I'll bring it to work with me and eat it, usually somewhere around 11 o'clock. So that's been huge with the lean meats, and but the oats aren't really a big deal. The potatoes, I love that I can add a potato to my meal and have it not be any points. But again, I do watch the amount that I have with potato. One thing that I have done is I have been wearing a glucose monitor. So I buy the Stella brand, and that one doesn't need a prescription. You can just order it online. And if you have a flexible spending account, it will cover it. So I'm going to just do it like once every 3 or 4 months. I'll wear that, and it just helps me to see how I react to different foods. And even in the Good Energy book, they talk about that, about being familiar with your glucose if you have prediabetes especially. So that's what I've been doing. I did it, I think, in September, and that's when I really realized how things were affecting me. And then now I've done it again in January, and I have not had one single spike because of the way that I have been eating, which is huge. That's huge to me. I did find that I could have a little bit of potato at night and it would spike me some. I never really had any huge spikes with it, but the biggest thing that I've noticed is if I can have a potato, or I can have something with carbs, like a piece of sourdough, as long as I walk afterwards, I won't usually get a spike. So if anything, it's making me learn what things make me spike. My daughter is doing it too. She has PCOS, so her doctor has referred her to do a low carb diet. And she can have rice and it doesn't spike her. Whereas when I have rice, it does spike me. So it just made me realize, just like in that Good Energy book, how we're all so different. We all respond differently to different foods. So that's why I always say you have to do what works for you. So I have a follow-up with my doctor in March. So I'm really excited to see if these changes that I made. Now I know like your A1C bases it on the last 3 months. So if it pulls too much in December in there, might be a little bit high still, but I'm hoping January and February will at least have helped it. The other thing I love about the new program is the ability to, my dog's gonna walk by, the ability to upload recipes and not have to go in and do the recipe builder. Do y'all remember we'd have to go in, and if we saw a recipe online, we would have to go in and create the recipe in the recipe builder. Now we can just add it by putting in what the URL is to that website. It adds it, it lets us edit it to make our own changes. Absolutely love that. I was going back and forth between Weight Watchers and my Fitness Pal. I was basically having to double track, and I've really found that I no longer have to double track. The best reason for that is because to me, the ultimate best thing that Weight Watchers has done is adding macros. That's huge to me. You all know that I've always kind of looked at my macros. I try and focus on protein. I want a minimum of 100 grams of protein. And especially now that I'm doing more of a lower carb, I want to watch and make sure that I'm having enough healthy fats into my day and keep my carbs fairly low, my net carbs. So I kind of watch my fiber too, which again, for me, I do have to watch the amount of fiber. For a time, I think early last year, I was like really working on my fiber and keeping it up. And then I felt my gut symptoms starting to come back. And I'm like, nope. For you got to keep your fiber low. So again, this is me. If your doctor tells you to have high fiber, then you have high fiber. So for those of us that are counting our macros, keeping track of our protein, keeping track of our fats, our carbs, those are now available to us. If you scroll down to the bottom of your day, it will show you all that. I think it's protein, carbs, fat, fiber, sodium, I believe. So we can keep an eye on all that stuff. That is there. I love that. I would say that I really focus on that over points. I just let my points fall where they fall. I usually end up with, I have 23 points a day and then 28 weeklies, but I usually end up with a lot more weeklies because of the activity that I've been doing. I am every day doing my 10,000 steps now, have not missed it since the beginning. I know how important exercise is and movement. I've been making sure at work, unless I'm in meetings, that I'm getting up every hour and walking. I've been using my lunch break to go for a walk. I have made it a point that every time I eat, I take a 10-minute walk afterwards. So I gain a lot of exercise points. And then I also am strength training 2 times a week. I'm starting with 2 times. My ultimate goal is to get to 3 times, but I'm just starting with 2 times a week for now. So I earn a lot of points with the activity. And so that's why this has really kind of worked. I'm able to create a meal using mostly 0-point foods, and then I'm using my points for the things like butter, sauces, my coffee. So before it was kind of like, okay, I can't have more than 2, can't waste more than 2 points on coffee. Now if I put half a tablespoon of butter in my coffee and some of the creamer and froth it, it might be 5 points for my coffee. And I'm okay with that now because throughout the day, I'm eating so many whole foods that are 0 points that I'm not really worrying about it. I'm not trying to save up points anymore so I can go splurge and pig out on junk food or anything like that. And so that's why it's working. And that's where I feel like Weight Watchers is really trying their hardest to push people towards a whole foods diet. And I compliment them. I know back, 20 years ago, I might've been like, oh, forget it, I'm not doing it. But now that I'm older and I'm realizing the importance of what we're putting into our body, I'm really to the point where I'm using food as fuel to get me through the day and make me feel my best. Now, the only thing that is missing is calories. So they're not sharing the calories, but let me tell you, you can easily figure that out on your own. So let's say at the end of the day, you have 100 grams of protein, say 40 grams of carbs, and 90 grams of fat. I'm just throwing numbers out there. The way to figure it is for protein and carbs, it's 4 calories per gram. So if you have 100 grams of protein, that's 400 calories. you have 40 grams of carbs, that's going to be 160 calories. So you know right there between your protein and your carbs, you've got 560 calories. And then let's say your fat, you have 90. Fat is different. For fat, it's 9 calories per gram. 90 times 9 is going to be 810 calories. So then you just take all those, the 560 plus the 810, add them together, and that's the total calories that you're at. So very easy to just very easily figure those out at the end of the day. Like I said, take your protein, multiply it by 4, take your carbs, multiply it by 4, take your fats, multiply it by 9, add those totals up, and that's the calories that you're at for the day. So that's really the only thing that Weight Watchers isn't sharing, but very easy to figure out on your own. So that's the changes that I've made. I'm going to do my best to kind of bring you along, share with you what I'm having. I'm trying this. I'm going to stick to it. I am committed to sticking to this and seeing what happens when I go to my doctor. I just really want to see and see if this energy continues. I mean, I just feel like I'm on a high. Literally feel like I could sit here and talk to y'all for like another hour. I feel invigorated. I don't know, it's like a natural high. So whether this will continue, I don't know, but I really truly feel like it's the way that I'm treating my body. I'm trying to just fuel myself with God's food, the food that God intended for us to eat, and not all the man-made foods that have been being made. One thing I have noticed because of the way that I'm eating, I am not focused on food anymore. It's almost like, I don't worry, I'm so full. Like if you saw the picture I put of my brunch, I'm so full. That leaves me full for hours. I don't even think about food that afternoon. I just don't think of it. And I try and keep my movement up, and I don't know, it's like Whole Foods just do something. I highly would encourage, try it, give it a try. If nothing has worked for you and you're like me and you've spent your whole entire adult life yo-yoing and going back and forth and making excuses like I was, just try it. Try Whole Foods, see how it makes you feel. Like I said, I'm committed. I'm going to do the sugar fast for 40 days, and then my goal is just do 3 months of the Whole Foods, see how I feel. At some point, I may start adding back in slowly some things and see how it makes my body feel. Right now, I'm just really happy with the way that I've been doing this. So if you're following Weight Watchers, let me know in the comments what's the best change you think there is for this new program. If you're not following Weight Watchers, let me know what it is you follow. Do you follow any particular diet? Do you just kind of do your own thing? Are you kind of doing like me and pulling from all different things and just kind of focusing on more whole foods? I'm loving it. I feel great. So like I said, I'll link all the books down in the description box below. And that's what I have for you this week. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one.